The line goes silent for exactly 2 seconds before the screaming starts. Not the kind of screaming you can categorize at first. Not words, not a name, not a location. Just raw, formless sound coming through your headset at a volume that compresses the air in your ears. And your hands are already moving, fingers finding the keyboard on instinct because you have been here before, because every shift starts somewhere, and this is where this one starts, with your body knowing what to do before your mind has caught up. You type the initial entry into the CAD system, computer-aided dispatch, the interface that will track every second of what happens next, time-stamping your inputs in fractions of a minute, recording everything, forgiving nothing. The screen in front of you is already dense with active calls. The center you work in handles 600, 700, sometimes 900 calls a day. Right now, at whatever hour this is, and the hours blur together in here, they always do. 12-hour shifts under fluorescent light with no windows, no weather, no sky. Right now, there are 4 other dispatchers at their stations, each of them inside their own crisis, and none of them can help you with yours. 911, what is your emergency? You say it not as a question, but as a fact, because that is what the protocol requires, and because you have said it so many times that it no longer sounds like language to you. It is a sound you make to open a channel. The screaming on the other end reshapes itself, almost, into something adjacent to a word, and you are already doing the thing your training built into you. You are listening for location before anything else, because location is everything. Because without location, nothing else you do tonight matters. A caller can stay on the line with you for 11 minutes describing what is happening to them in perfect detail, and if they cannot tell you, or do not know, or are too far into shock to form the sentence, the units you dispatch will be driving in circles. You have seen this. You have lived this. I need you to tell me where you are, you say, voice flat and controlled, and you mean this with everything in your body. This is not the kind of job people picture when they picture emergency response. They picture the paramedic with their hands on someone's chest, the officer at the door, the firefighter on the ladder. They do not picture you. They do not picture this room. The long rows of workstations, each one a universe of screens, the dispatch console with its multiple monitors, the CAD interface, the mapping software, the radio channel, the phone line, all of them live simultaneously, all of them demanding your attention at the same moment, all of them existing inside a room that smells faintly of burned coffee, and the particular staleness of recycled air in a building where the windows do not open. There is no natural light in here. There has not been natural light for the last 5 hours, or 8, or 11. You stop tracking it. Your official title might be Public Safety Telecommunicator. Your unofficial title, the one that most people use without thinking about what it means, is Dispatcher. What you actually are is the first responder, the one who arrives before anyone arrives, the one who holds the entire situation in both hands while the people with the visible equipment are still in their vehicles, still driving toward the coordinates you gave them, still 2 minutes out, still 3. You are the bridge between catastrophe and help, and the bridge is made entirely of your voice. The screaming is resolving into something now. You can hear a second voice underneath it, lower, male. You note this. You type, second party at location. You are building the incident log in real time, every piece of information entered the moment you receive it, because the units responding will read this log on their mobile data terminals while they drive, and what you type is what they will know before they arrive. Your words will be in their heads when they go through the door. Are you safe right now? You ask. This is a priority question. You need to know whether the emergency is ongoing, whether the threat is still present, because this changes everything about how you code the call and how fast units move. The caller gives you a street name. It arrives broken and wet, but you have it, and your fingers are already moving, pulling up the address in the mapping software, and there it is, a residential street, cross-referenced with the CAD history, and you can see that this address has generated calls before. The history loads in a column beside the map. Prior incidents, dates, units dispatched, dispositions. You read this in the seconds you have while the caller is breathing. The picture forming in your mind is not a good one. You key the radio. Units available for priority 1. I have a... The caller says something that stops you. Not a word, a sound. The specific sound of someone moving away from the phone, but not hanging up. You have learned, through months and then years of this, that this sound is one of the most important sounds you will ever hear in this room. A caller who puts the phone down but does not disconnect is giving you something. They are giving you an open line, an audio feed into whatever is happening on the other end. And what you hear through that open line in the next 30 seconds may be more information than anything they could have told you directly. You do not speak. You cover your other ear with your free hand, and you listen. The radio is still open. The units are still responding. The CAD timer is climbing. You are doing 4 things at once, and the thing you are doing that no one will ever see is the listening. The absolute stillness you achieve in the center of all this noise. The way you have trained yourself to filter and hold and process and act. This is the skill that nobody talks about when they talk about what this job requires. The psychological literature on it uses the term sustained divided attention. And the research is clear that the human brain is not designed to do this indefinitely. It degrades. The question is not whether it degrades, it is when, and whether you notice before it does damage. You notice something else on the open line, a third voice, close to the phone. And then the caller is back, breathing hard, and they give you a name, not their name, but a name. And they say something about a weapon. And the call reclassifies itself in your mind, in the half second it takes for the word to land. You update the CAD entry. You change the call type code. You get back on the radio. What you do not do, what you are trained explicitly not to do, is tell the responding units everything you feel. Because you feel something. You feel it in the specific way that long-experienced dispatchers feel things. As a tightening across the upper back, a slight increase in your typing speed, a compression of your voice into something denser and quieter. The training calls this emotional regulation. The practical reality is that your voice is the only thing the officers have right now. And if your voice falters or cracks or carries any of what you are actually feeling, it changes how they drive. It changes how they enter the building. A dispatcher's fear, broadcast over the radio, becomes an officer's fear in the body, in the hands, in the half-second hesitation that sometimes decides everything. So you hold it. You put it somewhere in your chest and you hold it, and you keep talking. The caller is back, partially, and you are asking the questions in the order they must be asked. How many people? Is anyone injured? Has anyone called before tonight about this location? The last question you don't ask them. You already know the answer from the CAD history on your screen. This is the thing about the history, about the log, about the record that the CAD system maintains for every address, every time anyone has ever called from it or about it. It is sitting there on your screen in a column of clean, bureaucratic text. Each entry a date and a code and a disposition. And you read it now, and you understand what you are looking at, because the address in front of you has generated calls before, multiple times, and the disposition on those calls, the coded outcome, the resolution that was entered by whoever took those earlier calls, reads the same way each time. Gone on arrival. No report taken. Civil matter. You sit with this for exactly the amount of time you can afford to sit with it, which is no time at all, and then you keep moving. The units are 2 minutes out. The caller is still on the line, barely, voice dropping. You have given the officers everything you have. The address, the cross street, the number of occupants, the possible weapon, the prior history of the location. You have done what the protocol requires. You have logged everything in the sequence it arrived. Your entries are clean and time-stamped, and they will be reviewed if this call generates a critical incident report. And right now, some part of you already knows it will. Here is what no one tells you about this job. You will never know how most of this ends. The officer goes through the door, and the radio tells you on scene. And then there is activity on the channel, compressed communication, codes and acknowledgments. And then eventually a disposition is entered, and the call closes in the CAD system, and the incident becomes a completed record. But you are not there. You did not go with them. You stayed here, at this console. And while this call was still active, you were already fielding the next one. Because the phone doesn't pause. The CAD queue doesn't pause. The city doesn't pause. Because you are in the middle of something. You hold 11, 14, sometimes 20 situations simultaneously across a shift. And when each one closes in the system, what you have is a code, not a face, not an outcome you witnessed, a code. The psychological term for what accumulates in dispatchers over time is vicarious trauma. The research on dispatcher mental health, and there is real, documented research on this, shows rates of PTSD comparable to or exceeding those found in field responders. This surprises people because dispatchers are not in the field. They are not at the scene. They are in a room with no windows, but they are in the room, every time, for every call, with no physical movement to metabolize the adrenaline, no visual resolution to close the loop, no face to put to the voice that went silent, no way to know whether the child was breathing, whether the person on the bridge stepped back, whether the thing that happened in the apartment before the officers arrived was the thing you thought it was from the sounds on the open line. You carry the open question. You carry all of them. And the shift goes on. The call closes. The CAD entry finalizes. You read the disposition code. You do not read a name. You do not read a condition. The code tells you the call was handled. It does not tell you what handled means. There is a protocol in some communication centers, formalized in some departments, informal in others, called a critical incident stress debriefing. It exists because the research identified the problem. Dispatchers were accumulating psychological weight with no formal mechanism for release, and the rates of burnout, substance use, and trauma-related illness were climbing. The debriefing is supposed to be a structured conversation, facilitated, giving dispatchers a way to process calls that were particularly heavy. The protocol exists. The research supports it. In many centers, it is not regularly implemented. The shift is too short or too long. The staffing is too thin. There is another call already coming in. The phone rings. Not the same line. A different one. Your hand finds the headset without looking. 911, what is your emergency? You say it not as a question. You never say it as a question. You say it the way you say everything in this room. Clean, flat, present, controlled. The voice of someone who is functioning, someone who is here, someone who will stay on the line as long as you need. The person on the other end is trying to form a sentence. You give them the seconds they need because you have learned that the seconds are not wasted. They are the call finding its shape. You have your hand on the keyboard. You have the CAD interface open. You have the mapping system, the radio channel, the prior history available, all of it ready, and you are already listening for the location before anything else, because location is everything. The new call begins. The old one sits in the completed log, undisturbed, a code in a column, and whatever it cost is still somewhere in your chest, waiting for a shift end that is still several hours away, in a room where the light never changes and the phones never stop. And somewhere out there, the city keeps making its emergencies and sending them to you, and you keep answering. You answer because that is what this is. You answer every single time.